Everyone else was scrambling to sell their accounts. But there I was, staying up all night, saying my goodbyes to the NPCs. People joked that I'd lost it, treating NPCs like actual people. Then the day came, the game's dungeons merged with the real world, and those so-called NPCs became the ultimate bosses in reality, while everyone else was running for their lives. I was sitting in my yard, fishing and enjoying a hot pot. Bosses? What bosses? Those are my buddies. The news hit like a bombshell. Sword World, the game that had taken the world by storm, was shutting down in 24 hours. The moment the announcement dropped, players everywhere rushed to sell their accounts. My roommate Sarah was no different. You should sell yours too, she urged. Might as well make some money back while you still can. But I couldn't do it. This wasn't just a game account to me. It was a reminder of everything I'd been through, a source of comfort during my hardest years. To me, it was priceless. When Sarah suggested we sell our accounts together as a bundle, I politely turned her down and logged into the game by myself. If this was the end, I wanted to say goodbye properly. After all, this game had been with me for 5 long, difficult years. I followed my usual routine. I harvested the vegetables in my little virtual garden, tidied up, and got everything in order. Then, I set off to visit the NPCs one last time. I spent every last coin in my account. I bought the stable boy his favorite pastries, picked out the perfect calligraphy set for the schoolteacher, and got the beggar by the city gates a new pair of straw sandals. One by one, I visited them all, bringing gifts and watching as they broke into their familiar smiles. "Thank you, hero," they said, cheerful as always. I couldn't help but smile back. "Goodbye," I whispered to the screen. "I don't think we'll meet again, but I hope you'll be okay. Take care of yourselves." Behind me, Sarah let out a loud snort. "Are you serious?" she said, rolling her eyes. "They're just a bunch of lines of code. The moment the servers shut down, they'll get deleted in an instant." "Take care of themselves? You're acting like they're real people." I stayed quiet, but her mocking tone grated on me. "You've totally lost it," she continued, laughing. "Calling NPCs your friends? You need help. Like, actual help. Maybe I should tell someone, get you checked out or something." Then she reached for my phone. "Come on, stop being ridiculous. Just sell your account already. If we sell ours together, we'll get way more money." I shoved her hand away. I said no, Sarah. My voice was steady, but my patience was wearing thin. And for the record, I added, staring her down, friends are the ones who bring you comfort and joy. These NPCs did that for me when no one else did. So yeah, they're my friends. Deal with it. As we argued, the clock quietly struck midnight. I glanced at my phone, and my heart sank. The game had logged me out. The servers were officially shut down. No more Sword World. No more NPCs. And worst of all, I hadn't made it to Michael. Michael, the sensitive one, the one who'd probably take it the hardest if I disappeared without saying goodbye. I stared at the blank screen, guilt gnawing at me. But it didn't matter now. Sword World was gone, and there was nothing I could do. The day Sword World shut down, the wind outside was ferocious. I watched from the dorm window as a convenience store's patio umbrella, base and all, was ripped off the ground and sent flying several meters down the street. The store clerk ran out, trying to grab it, but the wind shoved him back like a toy. Every news channel was looping coverage of the global storm. Experts took turns sharing their theories, but no one could explain it. Some people online were even saying it was the end of the world. Meanwhile, I stared at the dwindling food stash in our dorm room. The storm showed no signs of stopping, and I was running out of options. My supplies wouldn't last past tonight. Sarah, my roommate, didn't seem worried at all. She leaned back in her chair, scrolling through her phone. "Told you should have sold your account when you had the chance." She smirked. "I got a cool 80 grand for mine. Once the money's in my account, I'll be swimming in takeout, even if delivery fees shoot up to $100. She shot me a glance. You're on your own. Hope you enjoy starving." I ignored her. There was no point arguing. She clearly didn't realize that no one in their right mind would drop that kind of money on a game account after the servers shut down. It was almost definitely a scam. I got up, heading toward the bathroom to wash up when something strange happened. A cold, robotic voice echoed through the room. "Sword World Dungeon successfully initialized. First mission, find Coco's favorite item near the village entrance. Time limit, 24 hours. Failure will result in erasure." I froze. "Coco?" I whispered. Sarah, on the other hand, rolled her eyes. "What the hell? A mission? Who's pulling this dumb prank?" I wasn't sure what to say. Coco was a name I knew. She was an NPC in Sword World. The granddaughter of the beginner village chief. A sweet little girl who loved playing hide-and-seek by the creek near the village gates. But this couldn't be real. It had to be some weird coincidence. Before I could think further, there was a loud, frantic knock at the door. Sarah sighed dramatically and stomped over to open it. "Who is it?" Standing there was Jessica, another girl from our dorm. She looked awful, her clothes were torn, and she was covered in blood. She wobbled unsteadily, clutching the doorframe for support. "Help me," she gasped, her voice barely above a whisper. Then, before we could react, she collapsed, hitting the floor with a sickening thud. Behind her, standing in the hallway, was a little girl. She couldn't have been older than 6 or 7, with twin pigtails and a lollipop in her hand. She swayed slightly as she stared at us, her big, round eyes sparkling with an eerie light. Then she smiled. "Big sister," she said sweetly, tilting her head. "Did you find my favorite thing yet?" Sarah jumped back in shock. Where did this creepy kid come from? Hey, where are your parents?" I couldn't move. I couldn't even speak. The girl's face, her outfit, her voice, it was exactly like Coco, the Sword World NPC, down to the last detail. My stomach twisted into knots. This couldn't be real. There was no way someone could look exactly like an NPC from a video game. I took a step back, my mind racing. But as I moved, something cold brushed against my leg. The chill shot through me like ice water. I looked down. Jessica. She was lying there, motionless. Her skin was pale, her lips blue. I crouched down, reaching out with trembling hands, and froze when I touched her. She was ice cold. Her entire body felt like it had been pulled out of a freezer. I scrambled backward, panic rising in my chest. She's gone. Sarah turned to glare at me, annoyed. What the hell are you talking about? Gone? Are you losing it? Before I could respond, the TV, my phone, Sarah's laptop, every screen in the room suddenly flickered and changed to the same broadcast. A news anchor appeared on the screen, pale and visibly shaken. This is an emergency announcement, they began, their voice tense. After thorough investigation, experts have confirmed that the recent global anomalies are linked to a martial arts game called Sword World. I felt my blood run cold. The anchor continued, their tone growing more urgent. We are now asking anyone familiar with this game to come forward and provide information. If you encounter anyone resembling NPCs from the game, do not engage with them. Avoid contact at all costs. Do not speak to them, and leave the area immediately. They paused, their eyes darting nervously off camera. Then, in a lower voice, they added, if you must interact with them, answer their questions carefully. Incorrect answers may result in. The broadcast repeated the warning, hammering it into viewers' heads. Do not engage with NPCs. Do not make eye contact. Answer questions with extreme caution. Then, the screen cut to a slideshow of game NPCs. No way, this has to be some kind of joke. There's no way the game's NPCs are actually real. Sarah stared in disbelief, her eyes darting back and forth between the computer screen and the little girl standing in front of us. Meanwhile, Coco stood there smiling sweetly, looking for all the world like a perfectly normal kid. Big sister, she said, tilting her head innocently. Did you find Coco's favorite thing yet? It's getting late, and Coco needs to go home. Hurry and tell me, okay? My hands started to tremble, not from fear, but from excitement. I thought I'd never see them again, the friends who had been with me through the hardest 5 years of my life. When Sword World shut down, it felt like losing a piece of myself. All the people, the stories, the memories I'd poured my heart into, they were gone in an instant. All I could do was sit by helplessly as years of effort disappeared overnight. I remember the shock when I first heard the news. It was like my blood had turned to ice. I couldn't stop replaying it in my head. I couldn't stop panicking over what life might be like without them. But now they were back. Sure, the situation was strange, terrifying even, but I couldn't help feeling a spark of joy. Sarah's voice snapped me out of my thoughts. Who the hell knows what she likes, she said, glaring at Coco. She's just some random NPC from the beginner's village. She barely even has a role in the game. Then Sarah's expression shifted. Her eyes lit up with an idea, and before I could react, she grabbed my arm and shoved me forward. She knows. Sarah blurted out, pointing at me. Ask her. She can tell you. And then, without a second's hesitation, Sarah slammed the dorm door shut behind me. Through the small glass window in the door, I could see her smirking at me. I'm not perishing for this, she said with a cruel grin. If anyone's meeting their end because of this eerie little creature, it's you. She gave me a mocking wave. Besides, isn't this your thing? You're always obsessing over NPCs and their stories. Time to put all that research to good use. Go on, Betty, this is your big moment. Her voice was dripping with malice, the same condescending tone she'd used so many times before. It was just like the way she'd told everyone I was crazy for treating NPCs like real people, the way she turned the entire class against me. Fine, Sarah. If this is how you want to play, I'll play too. I turned to Coco, forcing myself to stay calm. Coco, I said gently, I know what your favorite thing is. But after I tell you, can you promise me something? She blinked, tilting her head curiously. What is it, big sister? You have to ask that big sister, too, I said, nodding towards Sarah through the window. She really wants to answer your question as well. Coco's eyes lit up. Oh, does that big sister want to play with me, too? Okay, but you have to go first. Once you tell me, I'll ask her next. Behind the door, Sarah's smirk vanished. Her expression twisted into panic as she realized what I was doing. She started banging on the door with her fists. Betty, you bitch. You're doing this on purpose, aren't you? Just answer her question and get it over with. She was practically screaming now. You're gonna get me in serious trouble. Darn it, Betty. I ignored her. Leaning down, I whispered into Coco's ear, my voice low enough that only she could hear.